Right now, let's speak to Lesego Makhubela. He speaks for the Gauteng ANC, and he joins us now for more. Lesego, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time this evening. It's a rather interesting position that the ANC chairperson is taking in that Sanko gathering, largely indicating some kind of frustration. Let's watch it very quickly, and then let's get into the conversation. Why don't you tell me what he means by this?
Police wardens, you as a minister, you are refusing to recognize them. Your days are numbered. We can't, when young people are assisting us to fight crime, you want to undermine them. You can't, when we've trained young people to be in the streets in our township and protect our young people when they are studying at night in our schools, you don't want to recognize them. We say to this minister, give us the power for these young people to have the power to get guns so that they can protect our townships and chase away criminals in our own areas. And we're committed for that particular.
One would watch that and say, there is some internal tensions between the chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng and the Minister of Police. But even further, say there is maybe even intergovernmental tension between the Premier and the national government as far as policing is concerned. What gives rise to this?
There are serious limitations when primetime TV shows take WhatsApp videos or things that circulate on social media without context, as well as without finding the entire speech that the chair of the ANC, who's also the Premier of Gauteng, was saying, and then want to sensationalize it. The wardens are working very well with law enforcement agencies. They are working extremely very well with SAPS. They are working very well with private securities. And their mandate has been clearly defined. And our branches, the branches of the ANC and the people of Gauteng knew what they wanted in our chair, who we stand by. They wanted pragmatism. They wanted somebody who says there's a problem of crime which is getting out of hand. They wanted someone who will respond immediately. And not waste time when people are dying, when cars are stolen, when there's lawlessness in this province. And the chairperson of the ANC, who has a full support of the ANC, has been doing that. There's this video which has been misconstrued, which has been used to create distortions about the relationship between the Minister of Police, Comrade Begigcele, and Premier Panyaza Lesufi. Has been used exactly as that, to sectionally demobilize the people of Gauteng against the ANC-led government. We are working very well with the minister. In fact, when the launch happened, the minister couldn't make it. He delegated the deputy minister, Comrade Kassel Matale, who came and supported the program and even spoke in that launch of the wardens.
I don't think they're working very well. I know your job is really to spin, and you're trying very hard. But when the chairperson says your days are numbered, I hardly take that as people who are kind to each other. Besides that, they are not working very well, because a question was put to Minister Begigcele in Parliament. The question was, on which legislative provisions do the Gauteng crime prevention wardens rely on to operate as security services? The minister's response was, I don't know. I don't speak for the province, so I can't come here and answer what the province is doing. So that is not a picture of somebody who's working with province, who knows what the province is doing and is in support of it.
Another limitation is what journalists and some of the analysts refuse to accept as our constitutional democracy, that we have three separate entities of the state. We have the national government, we have the provincial government, and we have the local state, which is the local government, the municipalities. And he was correct to answer that question in the manner in which he did. Because, for instance, the Gauteng Traffic Police don't report to the Minister of Police, or do they need concurrence from him? And no question has ever been asked about the existence of the Gauteng traffic police. We are a separate entity of government, and that's why, Thabo, when you go to the elections next year, there will be two ballots. There will be a national ballot, and there will be a provincial ballot. So you will be electing the provincial government as well as the national government. The two spheres of government are separate but one.
Yeah. Why then would the peace officers not have been put for approval as peace officers via the Section 1521B of the Constitution, which allows municipalities to do that? There is no section that allows province to be able to do that, and which is probably why they have not received their status as peace officers up until this point.
We know what we were doing when we were establishing these crime prevention wardens. And that's why the name we gave to them is not incidental. It explains and clearly defines what we wanted them to do in terms of their line of operation. That's why we call them crime prevention wardens. So we understood ourselves quite very clearly what the challenges are in Gauteng and how we needed to respond to them. And that's why, as we speak, the 6,000 crime prevention wardens, which we believe that they will evolve as time goes on, we are actually training them in other spheres, because we wanted to see if we are able to increase the number of eyes on the ground in the wards of people who are able to deter crime, who are able to work with police and private security companies to be able to report anything that looks like it's criminal, and also to ensure that they work hand in glove with other law enforcement agencies. What will be the impact of their presence in our communities mean? And so far we have a positive impact, and that's why we can evolve them, and that's the discussion we are having. When we launched them, we were quite very clear that their work is not to replace what the police are doing. You will know, if you look at the number of police we have, and you look at the growing population of Gauteng. The other time you and I were analyzing the population of Gauteng, I told you that there's over 250,000 people who migrate to Gauteng every month, and the number of settlements that have grown. The police, the South African Police Service is unable, is overwhelmed by the numbers, and therefore that's why you have a limitation in terms of their presence, and that's why we actually ensured that we bring the presence of these wardens in these communities, so that they are able to be an extra pair of eyes for the police. They are able to deter crime. I'll give you an example. If you follow Twitter and you follow what people are saying even on social media, people used to go to places like Loftus Stadium where they go to watch games and all other things. When they are watching the game, they make a silent prayer, hoping that they'll find their cars outside the stadium.
Yes.
To this day, that prayer is not there, because the wardens are outside guarding those cars and working everywhere else, ensuring that they deter crime. Yes. And that is one of the positive impact that they have done. That's why we understand what we can do. Now that we have seen that presence and the numbers that we have on the ground, and extra pair of eyes that we have on the ground that we have, then now the MEC of Community Safety can now approach the Minister and say, Minister, now that we have a scientific evidence that says that if we have presence on the ground that complement the work of police, that complement the work of Metro Police in municipalities, that complement community organizations that work to ensure that our people are safe. If we have this extra pair of eyes, it helps us. Now we are saying, let's arm them. Let's help them so that they can be able to defend our people when they have weapons in there. That's when now you can go and seek concurrence in terms of the law you have cited. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I understand what you're saying. You wanted to. In fact, it's articulated in the speech that the Premier read when the CPF, when the crime prevention wardens were were launched. He says they are to increase the visibility of police. They will work closely with community patrollers to educate the public about ward-based policing. They will form partnerships with schools across the province, address criminal elements in and out of the communities, and give the necessary support. He goes on, they'll be responsible for eradicating lawlessness through heightened law enforcement operation, incidents of illegal land occupation, damage to state infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So, very clearly articulated the work that they need to do to deter crime. The question is their lawful appointment. Why were steps skipped there in terms of them being lawfully appointed and put in place?
There are no steps. You refuse to listen to the articulation you just cited. They are not appointed in terms of the Police Act. Okay? They are appointed by the provincial government, which makes an assessment after the statistics are released by the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of Police that says crime in Gauteng is skyrocketing, number one. Number two is that there's blatant criminality in our schools.
Okay.
Number three is that the police are overwhelmed. They don't have enough numbers and boots on the ground to be able to deter and ensure that they are able to work with the community policing forums, private security, and other people who are involved in ensuring that they combat crime.
Yeah.
And therefore, what was the immediate intervention? The immediate intervention was not to go to Wits University or to go to any other universities or to go to and establish a commission of inquiry to see how we can deter crime. It was to go through already established scientific reports that are there, that the presence of either community policing forums or the presence of people who are able to work with the police and report to the police where they see crime, it helps. We acted on that. That's what the Premier acted on and his executive. To say we need to increase the pair of eyes on the ground. We need to increase the pair of boots on the ground for deterring police, but also for visibility on the ground. Because when these wardens are able to see suspicious activities taking place in all the different wards in the communities, they don't go and arrest. They call the police. They have a direct line with the police. They have a direct line with the Metro Police in the municipalities. Yeah. They work with other law enforcement agencies to say there are suspicious activities here and there. We need to come and respond. When they spot a car, that's we have cars. When they spot a car which has been reported to have been stolen, they follow it and wait for the police until they arrive. Okay. And that's why we had not yet arrived at the point where they can be appointed through the Police Act and through concurrence with the minister. But now, after a thorough scientific research that we have done through them being active on the ground, we have compiled data that satisfies us that these 6,000 young people that we have deployed who are agile, who provide an extra pair of eyes on the ground, an extra boots on the ground, are able to help us combat this crime. And sometimes, even when they report some of the crimes that they see, they are unable to defend themselves. 2 of them lost their lives as they were waiting for the police to come and respond. That's why we were waiting for. And that's where we are. We are satisfied with the work that they are doing. We are satisfied with the impact analysis that we are getting. We are satisfied with what the public is saying. When somebody goes to FNB Stadium, or somebody goes to Loftus Stadium, or the teachers who now feel safe because of the presence of wardens who have a direct line with police and other law enforcement agencies. And that is the experiment what we have done. But we could not wait for a commission of inquiry. And that's why we are behind the chairperson of the African National Congress and the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi. Pragmatic. Doesn't wait for commissions to be established. We act, we analyze the data that we receive actively. We see if ever we are able to reduce crime by a notch, we are able to prevent rape, murder, and the theft of cars. And if we believe that is done, we then are able to approach Minister Begicele and say, Minister Begicele, this is our determination, concur.
Yeah, but even that, from what I'm hearing you say, I mean, it's largely a role that CPFs are playing, which is to monitor, to evaluate, and to advise, and to give police the intel to say, look, this is what we think it's happening. Even that has got to be set up based on the law, constitutionally, just for you to be able to do that. You can't just decide to offer that security service willy-nilly, because then anybody and everybody can wake up tomorrow and put their own squad and say, well, we are monitoring, evaluating, and giving advice to the police. We don't arrest, we follow the cars, and so on and so forth. It would descend into chaos.
Unless you don't recognize the constitutionally and democratically elected provincial government in Gauteng. We have a government that we have established in Gauteng, elected through the popular vote. And those young people who have been appointed through the Gauteng government can't be treated as vigilantes. They are not vigilantes. And that's why even when you have CPFs, you had CPFs, but you still had high levels of crimes. And actually, these CPFs were not existing in all the wards. And our study, in-depth study, which was conducted by the Department of Community Safety and the Office of the Premier, found that where CPFs were mostly active, working in conjunction with the police and with communities, crime was deterred because of their presence. What did we do? In communities where these communities are not organized, have not been able to organize CPFs and form CPFs to deter, fight crime and everything else, we then were able to put wardens who were able to then organize these communities, establish this, what you actually lawfully say, the CPF and ANC-led government idea to deter crime, and working hand in glove with these crime prevention wardens. And I continue to stress the name that we consciously gave to them, crime prevention wardens. They are there to prevent crimes. They are there to deter crime. They are there to report any suspicious activities, working together with the police. And they have been appointed by a democratically elected government, which its term is coming to an end sometime next year.
Yeah.
So they're not vigilantes.
No, I understand you. And I'm glad you're bringing up the question of a constitutionally recognized government in the province of Gauteng. And that's precisely what is being challenged here, if whether or not that constitutionally elected government in the province is not blurring the lines, having regards to Section 199 and Section 199 subsection 3 of the Constitution, which provides for a single police service in the country. Are you not blurring the lines between the different roles that each arm of government needs to be playing when it comes to the policing environment in the country, or crime prevention environment in the country?
The wardens amplify the work of existing law enforcement agencies and conduct joint operations together with the South African Police Traffic Police, Metro Polices, and all sorts of things. That's their role, and they are not as yet appointed under that act that you are citing. We are not yet there. Hence, I was saying we wanted to we gave them contracts that will last, I think, up until 6 months to do an impact analysis. We have done that impact analysis. We are happy with that impact analysis. And therefore, the impact analysis tells us that where they exist and where they've actively worked, they are able to deter and combat crime. They are able to complement police. They complement police. They work hand in glove with the police and our communities. And in that, they are able to do that. Why? Another issue is that what you had, for instance, you had a situation where you had some of the CPF, some of them which were helped by the Department of Community Safety. They were under-resourced. They did not have the requisite resources to be able to continuously do this particular work. But the wardens have been resourced. And by the way, these wardens have been transplanted from existing community policing forums. They were not taken from the streets. These were people who were already part of community policing forums. These were people who were already part of people who were combating crime in their communities and working very hard in those communities without even earning a salary, without even earning anything. They woke up every night. They woke up every morning to walk the kids who were going to school and ensure that they landed safely. They responded to calls of people who were in distress and were able to have direct line with the police. We did not go and actually start getting new people to be employed in this particular service. We went and fetched people who transplanted in existing community policing forums, and ensured that we are able to resource them so that they continue with the work that they were already doing. These people are not new to the task that they are already doing. And with our impact analysis, which justifies why we should now arm them and go and seek concurrence from Minister Begicel and the national government. We are very much satisfied. One of the calls that we have been making at the ANC Gauteng, the conference was saying we cannot continue to surrender our metros, especially the inner cities of Johannesburg, the inner cities of Tshwane, and other parts of our province to illegal foreigners and criminal cartels which have taken over these areas. We needed the deployment of soldiers. And that was the call that was made by branches of the ANC as a resolution. But before we actually moved to that particular drastic measure of ensuring that we are like big cities such as Milan, such as New York and other big cities in the world where you see a deployment of soldiers. We said, let's start with ensuring that we increased the number of eyes on the ground and the number of boots on the ground. And we did that with the wardens.
Yeah. So are you saying, for lack of a better word, the last 6 months, it was some kind of a pilot project that you are gathering your data so that now you got hardcore data to take to the police minister to say, well, we've tried this for 6 months. It's now working. Now, let's get concurrence from the various ministers, Minister of Justice and so on and so forth. Give these people the necessary powers.
Of course, that was a pilot project, and that's why their recruitment and employment contracts are temp contracts, because they were limited to the study that we were conducting through them in terms of the impact analysis and what the public are usually saying about what the public is saying about them, how satisfied are members of the public about the work that they are doing. And that's what we've been doing, because you don't arrive at drastic measures without any scientific study, or you use common sense to resolve some of the most complex problems that face Gauteng, a very metropolitan province, and think that if you use common sense, you will resolve it. We have science with us. We know how many crimes they've prevented and deterred. We can give it to you. And I think a statement released by the Office of the Premier was able to speak of the numbers that they gave to you. And two of the dedicated crime wardens, and I've already said this, they died fighting drug lords, waiting for the police. And having this discussion, it's a dishonor actually to the memory of those brave young people who went to a community, one in Soshanguve, which is actually a home of drug lords, when they're combating crime, and they were shot waiting for the police to come and help them so that they can be able to apprehend some of the criminal drug activities that were taking place in that part of our province. That is the work that they are doing. And we are happy as the people of Gauteng are happy in their numbers in terms of the visibility that they've prevented, as well as their ability to deter the criminal activities that have been taking place in the province. We are very happy that today people are able to go and watch Kaizer Chiefs and Sundowns. Even when you are Kaizer Chiefs, you have lost. You don't arrive at the parking and find that your car is not there. You still find your car. And you find the warden smiling, ready to usher you to where you have parked your car. Yeah. Because criminals know that they no longer are going to target big events to go and steal people's cars, because there's an extra pair of eyes which is there. Yeah. There's an extra pair of boots which is there, which are dedicated foot soldiers that prevent crime in our communities.
Well, it's precisely why we're asking those questions, because we want to honor those who lost their lives in the line of duty by ensuring that there's accountability. And if we do not know who we should hold accountable for them being out there, then that will be bringing dishonor to the efforts that they are putting out there.
Yeah. Well, they are very much accountable. they report to the Gauteng provincial government, in particular to the Department of Community Safety, and therefore we're able to hold them accountable. To this day, we've never received a single complaint about their work. We've been overwhelmed with compliments that have been coming in honor of the work that they are doing, from the different public schools that are around our townships, from the different urban areas, from the different activities that take place, especially the big events that take place, from the people who commute using the trains, who used to be in fear of walking to the train stations. Today, the people are able to wake up 4:30 a.m. in the morning and go to the train station knowing that they will meet the wardens driving around in the main roads that are used by people who commute using the train. They know that they will meet people who are using the taxis, using those taxis to commute to work. They know that if ever they go to church, those who go to church in the mornings, they will be met by those. That is the work that they are able to do. And they work very well with the police. Thabo, you will agree with me that the number of police we have is not enough to be able to police the population of this province called Gauteng, which is very complex, which is a metropolitan province, which the report given to us by Minister Begicele and the Commissioner of Police gave a very troubling report about the state of criminality in the province. We had to act. We could not wait for analysis, for commissions of inquiries, and bury our heads in the sand and say we are waiting for the heavens to come and rescue us from criminals who are playing God with our life. We can't do that. We had to act. And that's why Comrade Panyaza Lesufi was the choice candidate for the premier, because we loved his pragmatism. We loved the manner in which he responds to all the issues. We're not only speaking about these crime wardens. We're speaking about the panic buttons which are now continuously being issued to communities. We're speaking about fighting crime through the drones. No one is speaking about the use of this technology to do that. No one is speaking about the number of helicopters which we have given to the SAPS to help them to respond to crime. In fact, some of the violent heists that took place in our highways were resolved on time through the technology that we came up with. So we knew what we're doing, and that's why we had to intervene in the manner in which we're doing. We are now working, and that's why we are rolling out aggressively dark fiber in all our townships, because we want to finalize the rolling out of CCTV cameras on our highways and on our major intersections.
We'll bring you back to talk about all the other work. We just wanted to talk about the legality and the lawfulness of the crime prevention.
You can't separate them.
Let's leave it there. I'm completely out of time, but thank you very much for coming on. Lesego Makhubela is the ANC Gauteng spokesperson joining us there.